Today I got a crazy story time for you guys about this Karen who actually smacks a teacher over failing her son. You're not going to want to miss this, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted this story, let's just call him James. So there was another guy in James's class who we're going to call Ben, because of course I'm going to call him Ben. But anyways, right, this other kid who we're calling Ben, all you need to know is he's in James's math class. And in James's and Ben's math class, there is a massive test. This test kind of marks the midway between the unit, or I guess midway between the year. They're officially like 50% done with the material. So there's a pretty big test to kind of see how far, like how well you've done so far. And while this test won't completely sink your grade, if you do poorly on it, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. So everyone was studying a ton. And the thing is, right, James and Ben were kind of close buds. They weren't like best friends of all time, but they were buds nonetheless. And anyways, right, so, Ben is not studying while James is studying his butt off. And one of these, one of these lunch periods, right, James and Ben sit down and they're getting lunch together, and it's about 2 or 3 days before the massive midterm in math. So James asks, like, hey, Ben, like, how's the studying going? Do you feel prepared for this test? And Ben says, man, if I'm being honest with you, I have not studied, I am not studying, and I'm not planning on studying for this test. And James kind of just looks at him kind of with this look of like kind of confusion, and he's like, dude, this test is massive, it's a major part of our grade, and I know that, like, I know you, man, like, I don't think you can just wing this, like, no offense, I know I couldn't wing this. In fact, I don't think anyone in the entire class could just wing it. And Ben was kind of like, nah, dude, like, you got to understand, I was watching this YouTube video or reading this website about, envisioning and like kind of like manifesting. And dude, instead of spending all the time studying, which I hate, I've just been spending 5 minutes a day manifesting an A on this test. And dude, I really think it's going to work. And James is like, bro, was there salt in the tap water you've been drinking? Because, like, I don't know, dude, that sounds a little strange. And James is like, bro, you got to trust me. And, like, you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does work, man, think about it. You and I will never have to study for tests ever again. And James is looking at Ben with this look of, bro, I swear to God, when this blows up in your face, like, I'm not going to come around to clean up the mess, man. I'm going to come around with a box of tissues and also take you away from your mom, who's going to be extremely mad. But sure enough, right, the day of the test actually happens, and, James kind of like sits down in his seat, and Ben sits a couple rows over. They had assigned seats in math class, so, they couldn't necessarily sit next to each other. And James is pretty nervous. He's coming in, he's got sweat on his brow, he's nervous for this massive test in math, and he looks over at his friend Ben. Dude, Ben is just he's not sweating at all. In fact, he has a bit of a smug smirk on his face, which James was kind of like, all right, well, Ben is either having, having a mental breakdown, and this is the equivalent of, like, he just has so many bad emotions, they're coming out as positive, or bro actually thinks that this manifesting crap is going to get him an A on the test with no studying. I guess that's what he thinks, so, all right, best of luck, bro. That's all I can say. So sure enough, the teacher comes around and gives everyone their tests. And, Ben's friend, or James's friend Ben, just immediately starts going ham at it. Just starts filling in answers. Because the thing is, right, this wasn't free response. This was like individual bubble choices. The multiple choice ones where you can just fill out the bubbles. So sure enough, James's friend Ben is going ham. And James is actually doing the problems. And he hears a page turn over, and he looks at Ben, and he realizes that Ben is already done with the first page. To give a little context, there's like 24 problems on the first page, and it had been about approximately 70 seconds. So, James is starting to realize that Ben is randomly answering these questions, because James was on problem number 2. He was literally on problem number 2, and he wasn't super slow at math either. He was decent speed. So he realized that Ben, his friend, who thinks that manifesting is going to get him an A, is just spamming down answers. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, Ben goes up and is like, done. And the teacher's like, are you sure? Because this test is supposed to last like 50 minutes, the entire class period. And Ben's like, nope, I double-checked all my answers. And the teacher's like, all right, well, I'm going to give you this opportunity to check them again if you'd like. I really don't see how you could have finished it in 5 minutes. And Ben is like, nope, trust me. And the teacher's like, okay, well, I'm going to give you, this is your free choice to do this. So Ben very confidently gets up and hands in his paper to the teacher. The rest of the class kind of looks up from their papers to be like, are you serious, bro? Like, that's impossible. No one could have finished it by now. I guarantee, like, how is this possible? Did this kid cheat and know the answers beforehand? And anyways, since James kind of knows what's up, he's like, oh boy, well, Ben's going to have a surprise coming to him. And James kind of puts his head down and takes about, 35, 40 minutes to finish the test. He feels pretty good because he feels like he understood every single one of the questions, and maybe he messed up a little decimal place here or there. But he feels like he got at least a B, maybe even an A in the bag. So he goes back home and he texts his friend Ben. He's like, hey, man, you finished that really fast. And Ben's like, bro, it was the greatest thing ever. After all that manifesting I did, dude, I swear, I went in there and the answers were just flowing to me. It was like A, B, 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 C, A, B, A, C. And so James was like, dude, like, so you just randomly guessed them? And Ben's like, dude, no, you don't understand. I was manifesting the answers and then they just came to me, dude. I got to show you how to do it after I get this A+ back. And James just texts like, haha, okay, man. He's just like, okay, sure, buddy. And anyways, right, the next day rolls around and James and Ben go into the class, and Ben once again enters the classroom very confidently, and James is a little bit more cautious because the teacher is insanely fast at grading tests, and since this is multiple choice, the teacher most definitely has had it done by today. And sure enough, the teacher had it done by today, and the thing was done. The test was ready. So anyways, right, the teacher, is like, all right, class, well, thank you all for, doing the test yesterday. I know it was a lot of studying. I promise you this week's going to be really easy. I'm going to go extra light with the homework. In fact, we have no homework today. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. Clara's is kind of going crazy. So the male guys here, 1 like equals 1 pet for Clara. But anyways, right, the teacher's like, you know what, no homework tonight. You guys worked really hard. There were a range of scores on the test. There were a range of scores, which immediately James is like, okay, well, I think I know where in the range Ben is. In fact, I think he's the reason that the teacher had to even say that there was a range of scores. Because the teacher followed up by saying, even though there's a range of scores, you all on average did very well. Which basically means everyone else did really well and then Ben failed. And sure enough, that was basically the case, because the teacher started handing back tests, and James got his back, and he got a B+. He's very satisfied with that. And James, not trying to make it super obvious that he was looking for Ben's, reaction to all of this, but James kind of looks over at Ben, or at least looks at his face, and he sees Ben's face start at a very confident level, kind of like a little bit of confidence, a little bit of arrogance, a kind of look like that, and then it kind of slowly, he gets a little nervous as the test is put into his hand, and then you could see Ben's facial expression go boink. Just absolutely, his face drops when he looks at the paper. James could immediately tell that he completely failed, as the entire paper, he didn't see it because James was kind of far away from Ben, but he saw all the red marks, and it looked like 90% of it was X's, so he definitely didn't pass this assignment. And, sure enough, James doesn't text Ben, but he receives a text from Ben being like, dude, I don't know how to say this. I completely failed. I thought, what did he even do? It wasn't meditation. What was it? Oh, yeah, manifesting. Oh, I thought my manifesting was going to give me the A. I don't know what happened. I truly felt the answers flowing through my body. I don't know what I'm going to tell my mom. And James is like, bro, your mom's going to figure it out one way or another, because I'm pretty sure the teacher's going to contact her anyways if you really did as poorly as you said you did. By the way, Ben said to James that he got a 27%, which... it's not the greatest score I've ever seen, I'll be honest. In the top 5 best scores ever, 27% does not fit within the top 5, believe it or not. But anyways, right, and James is like, bro, you're probably just going to want to tell your mom, get it over with. Maybe that was a bad idea, James, as you guys will see. Because sure enough, the next day rolls around. It's so crazy, right? Wow, the next day happens. Shocker. But anyways, next day. James goes into class and he sees an empty seat where Ben is supposed to be sitting. In fact, James has not seen Ben all day today. He didn't see him show up. He didn't see him at lunch. He has one more class with Ben and he wasn't there. So James is looking at this empty seat and he's just really confused. And this is when it all starts to make sense. And Clara's going again. All right, buddy. I think the imaginary, the leaves are coming. No, the leaves are breaking in. Thank you, Clara. Bark the leaves away. And the squirrels are coming, Clara, no. Okay, sorry. Anyways, right, so this is when the craziest thing happens. Because remember, James is sitting in math class and his friend Ben isn't there. And that's when the door opens 5 minutes into math class, midway through the teacher teaching. And you know who shows up? Ben. But you know who also shows up? Ben's Karen mom. Real quick comment, Karen, down below if you want to harden your comment. I'm trying to take a little bit less time on my phone looking at YouTube stuff, but I will try and heart as many comments as I possibly can. And by the way, you guys probably noticed I went from posting twice a day to literally not posting for I think the last 4 to 5 days. I just really needed a break. It wasn't the greatest time, and I just couldn't make YouTube videos then. I appreciate you guys watching all my older videos, and I think honestly the only reason why this video will do okay is just because you guys are watching all my old videos even without me asking you to. And if you want to help me get back in the algorithm, because YouTube literally sent me a message saying, hey, you're getting less views because you're posting less. We're punishing you. If you want to help me get unpunished or boost me back in a little bit, go ahead and watch a few more videos after this one from my channel, binge watch them, and comment down below if you're doing that so I can say thank you. And if I don't get back to you, just know I'm trying to take some time off looking at my comments all the time. However, I'll be super active in the first 30 minutes or so. So in general, that's when I'm most active in the comments. So make sure the notifications are turned on. Sorry, that was kind of long-winded. Back to the main part of the story where, remember, James is in math class. Ben has been gone for the entire day. Ben just failed a major assignment and he just told his mom. Ben has not been in class. And 5 minutes into the class, while the teacher is mid-teaching, the door opens up. And who is it? It's Ben. But it's not just Ben, it is also Ben's Karen mom. So sure enough, the teacher is like, oh, Ben, you're late for class. Hello, Miss Ben. We're just going to say Miss Ben or Karen. He said the actual name, but I don't know what it is. He's like, oh, hello, Miss Ben. And Miss Ben, a.k.a. the Karen, is like, I need to speak to you. And the teacher's like, well, I do have office hours, or you can communicate with the administration if you want to set up a meeting to talk about Ben's recent test score, but I'm in the middle of class, so I can't like take it now. That's a pretty reasonable statement in my opinion, but apparently the Karen did not believe this. So the Karen is like, no, we need to speak right now. And in fact, it's better that we speak in front of everybody so that everyone can understand what is going on here. And Ben is just looking at the ground. He's just looking down. He's not trying to make eye contact. James is like, James's eyes are piercing into like Ben's skull, trying to make eye contact just to be like, bro, what is going on? But Ben is not looking up because obviously he is mad embarrassed with this whole situation. But sure enough, right, Karen's mom is like, I know what actually happened here, and they should too. You failed my son because you dislike him, not because he did poorly on the test. And the teacher's like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't understand. Can you elaborate? And James just knows that Ben must have told some massive lie. But the Karen is like, my son tells me that he got every single answer correct, but you failed him on the test because you hate him specifically. And for that, I will not stand for such a thing. And the teacher's like, ma'am, I don't even look at the names when I'm grading the tests. This is kind of a thing that more teachers do, I figured out from all these stories I'm receiving, and my own teachers. He's like, I don't even look at the names while I'm grading the test so I can be really impartial. These were multiple choice questions. In fact, everything was multiple choice, so there was no real decision. I could have legitimately set up a software automation system to do it for me, and the results would have been exactly the same. The Karen, however, is not hearing this, and she's like, silence! And the teacher looks at her like, bro, you legit asked me, like, you asked me, like, I'm just telling you, and then you tell me to shut up when you say, like, incorrect information. But the Karen goes on to say, like, I will give you on a count to 3 to change his grade to a 100%, or else. And the whole class has gone completely silent. It's not like they were talking before, but any kind of like, even the buzzing of silence has completely left the room at this point, because the Karen is threatening the teacher to change her son's failing grade from a 27% to a 100% or consequences. And the teacher's like, I will not be like threatened into doing something like this. Like, this is very inappropriate, Miss Ben. Like, I expected more from you. And Miss Ben is like, 3. And the teacher's like, once again, I'm just not 2. I'm not, this is ridiculous, Miss Ben. Please reconsider 1. And then Miss Ben says, final chance. And the teacher's like, no. In the middle of saying no, bah! The teacher goes up and whap across the forehead, smacks the teacher in the face. And James is so shocked, but in the middle of his like being shocked, he looks at Ben's face, and Ben is no longer looking at the ground out of like embarrassment, out of guilt, because he probably told his mom and his mom's going crazy. But Ben is now looking shocked. I guess Ben kind of expected his mom to be a little insane, but did not expect anything near this capacity. Like, imagine your mom is mad that you failed a test, so she smacks the teacher, bro. Like, all right, that's a whole different level. The class goes completely silent, and the teacher legitimately just sits there and is stunned. It's not like the Karen is wearing brass knuckles or is the, I don't know, the Logan Paul slap championship. It was a pretty pitiful slap, but it did make contact with the skin, and you could hear it, man. So the teacher is shocked for a second, and then is like, I'm going to have to call the front office. Immediately grabs the phone, dials the front office, says, I was just like assaulted in my classroom by a rogue parent. I need the security to come down. And the Karen's like, I'm allowed to slap you. Because you were me. She just starts babbling on about some gibberish about how she's trying to justify her actions. Basically what happened, right, was that Karen immediately after slapping this guy realized that she was in the wrong and she was probably about to be banned from school forever. So she was trying to justify her actions like, you failed my son, you came for my family, the emotional trauma that leaked to me. I was literally just doing an eye for the eye. That line in the Bible, eye for an eye. Don't you believe in Jesus? Like, she legitimately tried to, like, the reaching, bro. The reaching was so bad that any anti-cheat client, even Hypixel, would get you for that. And you can reach like 1,000 blocks and no one cares, apparently. I was playing a Bed Wars game and got slapped by some guy, hopping, neck snapping, kill or misplace. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, right? So sure enough, the school officer comes down. And 2 of them, they come and they're like, all right, ma'am, well, we got to escort you from the building. And she's like, no, well, this is an outrage. And they're like, ma'am, we will press actual charges if you don't cooperate. And then she's like, oh, okay. So sure enough, right, Ben and his mother, because Ben did not want to go sit in the class. That'd be way too awkward. Ben and his mother were escorted out. I mean, Ben didn't face any charges because he didn't, attack his teacher or anything. But, the teacher was like, all right, class, you know what? We're going to watch a movie today. Not even an educational one. Just pick a movie, dude. And because the teacher was just not going to teach today. He had to figure out what was going on. So the class ended up watching like Wall-E or Despicable Me or something while the teacher was making 1,000 phone calls about what just happened. It was pretty funny. But apparently, right, Ben received a failing grade on the test, eventually admitted to his mom that no, the teacher, he just like thought that manifesting the grade would get it. The Karen was banned from the school for life. Ben's dad literally had to come up and pick him up. Like, she wasn't even allowed on the premises. And the school, it wasn't like a legal enforcement, but the school said, we'll actually press charges if you break that rule that we're saying, or we see you on campus, we're legitimately pressing charges. And they had a pretty good case because they have a lot of eyewitnesses in that classroom. But sure enough, right, Ben actually studies for his next test. He gets an A on it by the final exam, and he leaves the class with a C, which was pretty good when you have a 27% on the midterm, bro. But yeah, moral of the story is don't have your Karen mom fight your teacher. It won't end well.